Imagine a megastructure that stretches 55 kilometers across the open sea, disappearing into the ocean floor and rising again 12 kilometers later. Most bridges simply cross a river, but this engineering marvel crosses a border, a typhoon zone, and a major shipping lane. That was the massive problem the engineers faced. You cannot just build a bridge tall enough or dig a tunnel long enough to solve it alone. The solution was to build both a towering bridge and a deep tunnel, switching between them seamlessly underwater. This is the story of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, an epic project that officially began construction on December 15, 2009. We are going to walk you through exactly how this behemoth was built, telling the complete story from the very first steel pile to the final watertight seal. The construction journey started with survey ships heading out to meticulously map the seabed along the entire 55-kilometer route.
Maintain rotation speed at 40 RPM. Copy that, 40 RPM. Pressure looks stable.
This drilling was crucial to test the load-bearing capacity of the rock deep beneath the ocean.
We are approaching the target coordinates. Maintain present course.
Roger that, Captain. Starboard engines at 5%.
The foundation relied on massive steel piles being driven deep into the earth.
Watch the alignment on the next drop. Keep the pressure steady.
Driving these steel piles deep into the seabed provided the deep anchoring the bridge needed. But an empty steel pipe isn't strong enough on its own, so each pile had to be filled.
Maintain pressure on the line. Watch the coupling. We're holding steady up here. Keep it coming.
The high-strength concrete was poured until each pile was completely solid. With the piles set, the foundation needed a top structure.
Easy now, bring it down slowly. Watch the clearance on the left.
Because of their immense weight, a floating crane was brought in to handle the heavy lifting.
Steady, steady. A fraction to the west. Now slowly down, hold it there. And stop.
At this point, human verification was absolutely necessary. The divers had to confirm that every single foundation was perfectly placed. This underwater confirmation was mandatory before any part of the bridge deck could go on. Only after the divers gave the green light could the builders move to the next phase. This yard was essential for mass-producing the deck segments needed for the viaduct. The process started with raw steel rebar. The bent rebar was then welded together to form massive deck segment cages. Steel formwork molds were prepared to shape the concrete. High-strength concrete was poured all around each steel cage. This pouring process had to be done in one continuous run without stopping. The rules were strict. If a pour was broken or interrupted, the piece was rejected completely. Once properly poured, each concrete segment needed time to strengthen. Both the temperature and the humidity were meticulously controlled during this curing phase. After curing, the finished deck segments were ready for the sea. They were loaded onto large transport barges. Tugboats then towed these loaded barges out to the waiting foundation piers. The cranes hoisted each segment up into the air, moving them into place one at a time. But they couldn't just be placed next to each other dry. Only after the epoxy was applied were the concrete segments pressed tightly together. Inside this full run of joined segments, there were pre-built ducts. To give the bridge its incredible strength, these steel tendons had to be pulled tight. Hydraulic jacks were attached to the ends of the steel tendons. The jacks tensioned the tendons with immense force. They kept pulling until the entire span of joined segments locked completely rigid. They built the bridge segment after segment. They built it pier after pier. In total, an astounding 22.9 kilometers of viaduct was constructed using this exact method. However, the flat viaduct design couldn't work everywhere. The bridge had to cross 3 major shipping channels. At these specific crossings, tall towers had to rise instead of a flat deck. To build them upwards, engineers used a slip-forming technique. At the very top of each tower, steel anchor boxes were required. These heavy steel anchor boxes were cast directly into the concrete tower head. With the towers up, they needed cables to hold the massive spans. High-strength steel cable strands were used for this purpose. Once bundled, each strand was carefully run from the high tower down to the bridge deck.
Tension is holding steady at 450 kilonewtons. Alignment looks good.
Confirmed.
Every single steel strand was individually tensioned to hold the exact weight required. The height of the spans ranged between 280 and 460 meters. This massive elevation was non-negotiable. It was designed to be tall enough to allow massive container ships to pass safely beneath. But as the bridge approached the airport, a new problem arose. Aviation regulations dictated that no tall towers were allowed near the airport approach. To avoid the flight paths, the road literally had to dive underwater. The foundation of each island was a massive steel cofferdam ring. This ring was designed specifically to hold the shape of the artificial island. The rolled flat steel was then welded into incredibly large cylindrical cells. It took exactly 120 of these massive steel cylinders to outline just one island. The vibratory hammer drove the 120 steel cylinders straight down into the seabed. These smaller connecting steel cells were carefully welded between the large cylinders. When finished, this ring formed a completely watertight steel wall. This steel wall stood boldly right in the middle of the open sea. But the inside of the ring was just empty water that needed to be filled. To make this new land stable, a concrete capping was required. This poured concrete effectively sealed the surface of the new island. In total, 2 artificial islands were built using this exact steel and sand method. One island was positioned on each side of where the underwater tunnel would be. Amazingly, this method meant no traditional dredging was required. Each island reached its full footprint in under a single year. Now came the most difficult part, the immersed underwater tunnel. Instead, it was fully built on land and then sunk into place. Inside this basin, massive steel outer shells were fabricated first. Then, heavily reinforced concrete was poured inside every single steel shell. The scale of each finished element was mind-boggling. Each completed tunnel segment was built to roughly the length of an entire football stadium. Once the concrete and steel were fully combined, each element weighed close to 80,000 tons. A massive rubber sealing gasket was fitted around the leading face of every single element. As the water poured in, the 80,000-ton element floated free for the very first time. The tugboats carefully towed the element out into the open strait. This dangerous towing operation had to be perfectly timed against the ocean tide. Ballast tanks located inside the element were flooded on command to make it heavy. Slowly, the element was lowered 40 meters down into the dark water. Down in the depths, divers and high-tech sonar teams took over. They guided the massive dropping element perfectly against the previously placed element. As the two elements made contact, the rubber sealing gasket compressed tightly between their faces. Water naturally became trapped in the small space between the two joined elements. Removing the water created a massive pressure difference between the inside and the ocean outside. That immense ocean pressure difference instantly locked the two elements together permanently. For backup protection against future leaks, workers went inside the joint. A second seal was physically welded over the joint directly from the inside. Once one element was safely placed and sealed, the entire process repeated. A total of 33 massive tunnel elements were sunk this way across the strait. To finish the tunnel, the final gap was closed using a purpose-built closure joint element. With that final piece, the 6.7-kilometer-long tunnel was complete. It was completely sealed and watertight from end to end. The bridge and tunnel still needed to connect to land, which meant building link roads. The route also required boring a short tunnel directly through Scenic Hill on Lantau Island. This coastline road led straight to the main border facility. On the other side, a link road threaded its way through Gong Bay to reach Zhuhai and Macau. Finally, these new link roads connected seamlessly into 3 existing mainland expressways. Massive immigration and customs buildings were constructed from the ground up. Passenger halls were built utilizing an elegant steel and glass design. These halls were specifically engineered with incredibly wide, column-free spans for open space. These inspection lanes were heavily fitted with modern scanning equipment. These tunnels were critical for supplying power and water to the facilities. They also housed all the necessary communications lines for the entire complex. With the structural work done, it was time for the road surface and safety systems. First, a waterproof membrane was laid completely across the full deck. This was done to protect the concrete before the final paving began. Then, fresh asphalt surfacing was laid down in multiple stages across the entire 55 kilometers. Safety was paramount, so heavy steel barriers were installed along every single span. Lighting masts were also erected along the barriers to illuminate the route. Down at the water level, anti-collision fenders were fitted entirely around every bridge pier. Up on the deck edges and at the tunnel entrances, heavy storm barriers were built into the structure. Inside the dark tunnel, extensive fire suppression systems were installed. Heavy-duty ventilation and advanced monitoring systems were also wired inside the tunnel. Along the full length of the 55-kilometer route, CCTV cameras were fitted for security. Traffic sensors and emergency call points were also wired up to monitor the flow of vehicles. Before opening, structural engineers were sent out to run brutal load tests across every viaduct span. At the cable-stayed towers, the tension was mathematically checked on every single strand. Down in the deep, the tunnel seals were intensely pressure tested, section by section. The main bridge structure officially reached completion on July 6, 2017. The entire 55-kilometer system was fully completed on February 6, 2018. Final inspections were held to rigorously clear every section for public traffic. Finally, on October 24, 2018, the massive bridge opened its gates. The very first vehicles drove from Hong Kong, dropped into the underwater tunnel, and rose again on the far island. Over 9 years, 420,000 tons of steel and 33 sunken tunnel elements were combined to make it happen. Every single pile, cable, and gasket was placed by hand and machine working together. A trip that once took 4 grueling hours by ferry now takes just 45 minutes across this wonder of engineering.